Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Hot on the Case. If this is your first time joining us for an investigation, here at Hot on the Case, we talk all things true crime with a focus on the unsolved and unexplained. If mysteries are your thing, please consider following the show wherever you're listening, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. The case we're discussing this week is unlike anything I've ever heard before. It just went to trial. We just got the verdict back last week. And to say that the outcome of this case has shocked and outraged the public would be a massive understatement. A young teenage boy kills one of his parents in self-defense after claiming that that parent came at him with a knife. 1 year later, same boy kills his other parent after claiming that they came at him with a knife. The story of Collin Griffith is a tragedy. But is that because he grew up in an unstable, abusive environment, forced to protect himself from those who were supposed to protect him? Or because the teenager is a disturbed, dangerous psychopath who got away with murder not once but twice and likely going to kill again? My name is Breanna, and I'm hot on the case.
It's important to understand when you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath.
Collin Griffith was born to his parents, Charles and Catherine Griffith. He also had an older brother named Christopher, who was already over the age of 18 by the time that our case begins. In 2019, Collin's parents separated. He went to live with his father in Oklahoma while his mother stayed in Florida. And they officially divorced in May of 2020, and so began a very messy custody battle for Collin. In August of 2022, Collin's mother, Catherine, petitioned the court for full sole custody of Collin. Kathy claimed her ex-husband, Charles, was violent and abusive their entire 20 years of marriage. Kathy claimed that she hadn't seen her son since 2019 because her ex, Charles, was essentially holding their son hostage. Catherine claimed that her son Collin told her that living with his father was a living hell, that his father had taken him out of school and was holding him hostage in his own home, that Collin was being completely isolated from the outside world, was not allowed any outside human contact, all because he told his father that he was gay. That her ex-husband wasn't even allowing her son, Collin, to talk to her anymore. Catherine also claimed that her ex-husband, Charles, had been stalking and harassing her. But Charles told a completely different story, and he said that everything his ex-wife, Catherine, was saying was a complete lie. He claimed that his son's mother, Catherine, was unstable, that she was crazy, that you couldn't believe a single word that came out of her mouth, that she was abusing substances and alcohol, and the only reason that he didn't let their son have contact with her anymore because she was trying to manipulate him, and she had actually sent him a written note. Charles also claimed that his ex-wife Catherine had created a fake account on Discord, posing as an adult male to catfish their son Collin to try and convince him to run away from his home. I told you, this was a very messy custody battle, and the custody battle would come to an end 6 months later, but not in the way that I'm sure anyone could have ever expected. It was Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2023, exactly 2 years to the day that this episode is going up. Collin Griffith, only 15 years old, called 911 to report that his father was dead and that he was the one that shot him. Lincoln County officers quickly arrived at the scene. This was the first time the sheriff's office had ever been called at this residence. And inside of his own home, 43-year-old Charles Griffin was declared dead. His own 15-year-old son, Collin, claimed that he had come at him with a knife, was chasing him around the house with a knife, threatening him with a knife, and had cornered him in his home. Coincidentally, Collin's father had cornered him near a loaded shotgun that Collin used to kill his father in what he was claiming was self-defense. The thing was, the officers were not buying Collin's story. There's not a ton of available information, but allegedly the scene and the evidence at the scene just was not consistent with the story that Collin was telling. It just didn't line up. When Collin was brought in for questioning and he began to realize that he was under some suspicion, he stopped answering questions. He would no longer talk to the police and he requested a lawyer. 15-year-old Collin was placed under arrest for the first-degree murder of his father. His mother, Catherine, paid his bail, and she was in total support of her son. At the time, she could not possibly believe that her son was a cold-blooded killer. She did not believe that this could be anything other than self-defense. But all the charges against Collin were dropped only a month later, since the prosecution did not believe that there was enough evidence to prove that Collin did not act in self-defense. So by March 2023, Collin went to go live with his mother, Catherine, in Florida. Catherine got the sole custody that she wanted. In Florida, Catherine did try to get her son the help that he clearly needed, even though she did not believe that her son was some kind of murderous monster. He definitely had some trauma that he was going to have to work through. Collin's father is not here to defend himself, but his ex-wife truly did believe that he held their son hostage in pure isolation with zero contact from the outside world for 1,041 days. That he abused their son, threatened their son, and even tried to kill her son, to the point where her 15-year-old son was forced to defend himself by taking the life of his own father. That's some serious trauma that someone would have to work through, that anyone would have to work through, let alone a 15-year-old boy. So Catherine got her son Collin a therapist, someone to talk to, but it really didn't work out. Collin told his therapist that he would kill her if she dared to diagnose him with anything. Still, the very frightened therapist diagnosed Collin with PTSD and a personality disorder. I'm not sure what treatment, if any, Collin was receiving for this. And after only living with his mom in Florida for 6 months, the police would receive their first call to the home that Collin was sharing with his mother. Collin told the staff at his new school that his mother and him had gotten in this big argument and that she pulled a gun on him, threatened to kill him and herself. With an accusation like that, the police had to get involved, but Collin's mother, Catherine, said that the accusation was all lies, that her son only did this to get back at her because he was mad at her because she had taken away his phone and his AirPods because he was failing some classes. Catherine is frustrated, but she doesn't seem necessarily mad, even though her son is just trying to get her thrown in jail over a pair of headphones. Catherine is just worried about her son. Catherine tells the police her son just has a lot of trauma, that he has PTSD, and what he really just needs is some help. But still, with a serious accusation like this, Collin had to be removed from the home and he was temporarily placed with Child Protective Services. For whatever reason, the police and/or CPS sided with Catherine and felt that Collin needed some help. So Collin was involuntarily admitted to a mental health facility through the Florida Baker Act, a law in Florida that provides mental health treatment to those who need it. The law allows for people to be treated involuntarily if it's believed that they are a threat to themselves, to others, or if it's believed that this person is not in the right place to seek out help for themselves. Collin was only meant to be at this facility for 72 hours, but he repeatedly told the staff that if they released him, put him back in a home with his mother, that he was going to kill himself or his mother. So Collin was kept at the facility for 8 days before being released. But Collin was only released from this facility for a matter of minutes. As he was walking out, Collin just started screaming if they released him that he would kill his mom. He said, "I've done it before to my dad. I know I can do it again." So Collin was Baker acted again. This time, Collin would stay at a mental health facility for about 2 months before being released into his mother's care. But almost immediately after Collin was released from the mental health facility, it was November 2023, 911 would be called to the home. Collin had attacked his mother, pulled her hair, kicked her in the groin, pushed her down, and began stomping on her. All because his mother wanted to limit the amount of time that he was playing video games. This is the second time that we know of that Collin has acted out in a dangerous or damaging way because he did not get his way and because his mother did something that he did not like. And when the police arrived, Collin claimed he didn't attack his mom. He acted in self-defense, that she attacked him first.
And then when I got up and was like, you can't just do that, and she was telling me to shut up, she hit me in the face, and then I reacted like this. She grabbed onto me, I hit her in the stomach, and then I'm a wrestler. It was just reactive. Grabbed her. She got to the ground. I grabbed the phone. I started recording, and then I left.
Luckily, this time that Collin claimed self-defense, there was a witness, his grandmother, who said that this was absolutely not done in self-defense. So Collin, now 16 years old, was arrested for domestic assault. And Collin told some of the officers once again, if he was placed back with his mom, that he was going to kill her.
All right. Yes. So what's going on, man? Last night, me and my mom went to a physical altercation. I got arrested for domestic battery, but I'm going in front of a judge today. I have a right to a public defender, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So how is the situation with you and mom right now?
Have
things calmed down? Are you guys able to get along? Where are we at?
No, sir. It's not good. She thinks that I beat the shit out of her. I don't. She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that. I don't know exactly where she's at. She thinks I'm going to kill her. I want to kill her, or that I want to beat the shit out of her.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, let alone my mom, even despite this happening. But I'm not going to take what I consider abuse when someone's attacking me. And
how is she attacking you? When
she attacked me. When she threw a punch at me and grabbed onto me, I grabbed onto her back. I got her off of me. She hit the ground.
Did you make any statements saying that you were going to kill your mom if you got in a car with her?
No, sir.
I'm trying to figure out why we would have a corporal at the jail that took you out, that dropped you off and telling us that you said, don't put me in the car with her, I'm going to kill her. What does this all start over? Has this been ongoing forever, or is this all something that happened last night?
For a long time. So I came to live with her after my dad died, and since then, there's just been kind of times when things boil over with her, and she acts out. One time she pulled a gun on me. I called the cops. I guess I wouldn't believe.
What got her to the point that she's doing these things?
I don't know.
You have no idea. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she pulls a gun or hit you?
It's because that I'm driving her crazy somehow with the way that I act, and I don't know how I'm acting badly.
But by February 2024, Collin was back living with his mother, but this time with a no violence contact order, meaning that violent contact was now forbidden. One, I roll my eyes every single time I read this because this sounds as helpful as a restraining order, but two, isn't violent contact just forbidden in general? Like, isn't that the law already? Then on February 14th, 2024, exactly 1 year ago from the day I'm posting this, and exactly 1 year after shooting his father, Collin ran away from his mother's home to his grandmother's home. Apparently, Collin's mom reported him as a missing person even though she knew where he was. And when he was located at his grandma's house, he was placed with DCF, or the Department of Children and Families, for some time before once again being placed back with his mom. But not before he, for the fourth time, you guessed it, told the people at DCF if he had to go live with his mom, that he was going to kill her. That May, Collin graduated his alternative high school, and to celebrate, his mom bought him a really nice brand new 2024 Volkswagen Jetta worth nearly $30,000. Catherine also took Collin on a bunch of really nice trips that summer. Her social media is just filled with photos of him and her and all the things that they were doing together. Like, truly, her Instagram is just filled of her and her son. And it kind of seemed like maybe she was trying to buy his love. But tragically, it would only be a few more months before yet another 911 call would be made. It was September 8th, 2024, the now 17-year-old Collin Griffith called 911 to report that him and his mother, 39-year-old Catherine Griffith, had gotten into a really long fight. That's what he says. He says it was a really long fight, and that she came at him with a knife. And during the struggle, his mom accidentally fell on the knife and she was bleeding from her neck. When the first responding officers arrived, Collin was already standing outside waiting for him, and he was covered in his mother's blood. But the officers say that Collin was calm, relaxed, that he was not upset, he was not stressed out, and he showed zero urgency for his injured mother. Tragically, Catherine was pronounced dead at the scene, and when they tried to ask Collin for some more information, like what happened here, all he calmly said to the officers were, "I know my rights. I want a lawyer." So turns out 2 days prior, Collin once again ran away from his mother's house and ran to his grandmother's house. And Catherine was really frustrated with Collin at the time. You can see it in her text messages to her friends in the days leading up and the day of her death, just how frustrated she was with Collin. Especially because Collin running away to his grandmother's house was actually a violation of his probation, so his mother, Catherine, was concerned for him. So that day, Catherine drove to her mother's house to go pick up her son. She got there around 4 p.m. The neighbors witnessed Collin come out of his grandmother's house, very angry to see that his mom is there. The neighbors say that Collin was yelling and pulling at his mother's hair and actually pulled her by the hair into the home. 2 hours later, 911 is called and Catherine is dead. Unfortunately, this time, Collin's grandmother was not there to witness what happened because she was actually out of town at the time. But once again, just like the last time one of his parents ends up dead after being alone with him, Collin's story of events were not lining up. He describes how him and his mother were in this huge, long fight, but there was zero evidence of any kind of prolonged struggle in the home. And his mother's injury was not consistent with an accidental fall on a knife. Catherine had a deep stab wound to her neck. She had been stabbed with so much force that the knife went all the way through out the back of her neck. The medical examiner was 100% sure that this was an intentional stab wound, definitely not an accidental one. So 17-year-old Collin was arrested for the first-degree murder of his mother, and he was going to be charged and tried as an adult. The sheriff held a press conference where he said that Collin showed no remorse for his mother's death, that the kid might be well-spoken and smart and look like any other innocent kid, but in reality, he believed that Collin was a manipulative, violent, dangerous psychopath.
It's important to understand when you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath. I see totally erratic behavior to the point that he's already at 17 years of age shot and killed his father and got away with it. and stabbed his mother in the neck so hard that the knife went all the way through and was to the back of her neck. And she died there. He's being charged with first-degree murder, obviously, and we are asking the state attorney's office, it's their decision, but our state attorney's office is the greatest, to prosecute him as an adult. We've also wrapped back around with the prosecutors, the DA's office, as they call them in Oklahoma, and they said if we develop information during this investigation that allows them, they will reopen the murder investigation in Oklahoma and potentially charge him out there. But at this time, they did not have sufficient information to charge him with murder. The unfortunate thing was now he's killed 2 people and killed his mother and father, and I can assure you, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt, based upon his conduct, had he gone to live with his grandmother at the end of this and she crossed him, she would be next. He's violent. He's dangerous. He showed zero remorse when he was being interviewed. In fact, when we attempted the interview, he met the original deputy in the front yard. And he didn't say, "Mom's in here, Mom's bleeding to death, Mom needs help." He looked the deputy in the eye and says, "I know my rights, I want an attorney."
Collin pled not guilty of killing his mother, and his defense quickly filed a motion to suppress the fact that Collin had previously killed his father from being able to be mentioned in the trial for killing his mother. They wanted all the information about his father's death to be excluded from the trial because, well, 1, it's absolutely damning, and 2, because they did not believe that it was relevant because Collin was never charged with his father's death. And the judge did partially side with the defense and ruled that the fact that Collin killed his father could not be mentioned at all. The only thing that could be mentioned was that Collin was previously involved in a self-defense death in Oklahoma. But the fact that he was actually the one to shoot the person could not be mentioned, his father's name could not be mentioned, and the fact that it was his father could not be mentioned. Collin's trial was set for July 29th, 2025, and I was surprised that this went to trial so fast. The prosecution obviously argued that this was a murder, that Collin had a history of violence and threats. He told everyone that would listen for the past year and 6 months that he was going to kill his mother, that Collin was a manipulative, spoiled, entitled brat who got angry and violent anytime he didn't get his way, was told no, or was disciplined. There's also been rumors that Catherine had evidence that Collin had killed his father, like murdered his father, but I could not find any concrete information on that at all. If you know if that's 100% true or 100% not true, please let me know in the comments. And Collin's defense actually scrapped the "my mom fell on a knife" defense and argued that Catherine had come at Collin with the 7-inch kitchen knife and that he had to defend himself. Yep. He was claiming that both of his parents came at him with a knife and he had to kill both of his parents in self-defense. He killed both of his parents in less than 2 years. I've literally never heard of a case like this before. The defense would argue that Catherine was the manipulative one, the toxic one, that she was the one that created this terrible toxic relationship between mother and son. Catherine's own mother, so Collin's grandmother, actually testified in support of Collin, even though she had previously said in the past that she was afraid of Collin. I guess she did not believe that he killed his mom, like on purpose, like murdered her. She testified under oath that Catherine could be abusive, manipulative, unpredictable, and that she was a liar. The defense even tried to argue that Catherine was so unstable and depressed that she attacked her son knowing that he would defend himself. So this was like a way to unalive herself. And then on February 5th, 2025, so just last Wednesday at the time of this upload, the jury came back with their verdict. And to the shock and outrage of many, they found 17-year-old Collin Griffith not guilty of the murder of his mother, Catherine Griffith. Trust me, if you were shocked, you are not alone. This has really outraged people. It's really unbelievable. I don't think anyone expected this outcome. And I'm sure at this point, the jury has gotten all the information. This has become a really big case. I'm sure they know the whole story by now about what Collin did to his father 2 years ago. So I would be so interested to hear what the jury thinks now that they have the whole story, if they feel like they got it wrong. Allegedly, the police department that is handling the death of Collin's father is interested in reopening the case to see if Charles Griffith was really killed in self-defense. And I would be sure to update you guys if we hear anything back from that, but I wouldn't hold your breath. I don't think that they handled that investigation 100% the right way, so I don't know what other information that they could find, what other evidence they could get their hands on that could get a conviction if they couldn't even convict Collin for Catherine's death, even though they had probably 24 people that could testify that they heard him say that he was going to kill his mom. Collin has since been released and he's out there somewhere right now. He's probably in Florida. He's probably with his grandmother, at least for now. I know a lot of people online think that he's probably going to end up killing his grandmother. I mean, what's stopping him? He's only 17 years old. He's killed twice. He's gotten away with murder twice, allegedly. And that Collin is going to kill again. It's not a matter of if he's going to, it's a matter of when. It's a really scary thought. I've heard everywhere that everyone is pretty much in agreement that this is not the last time we're going to hear of this kid. Personally, I would be really terrified to have any kind of contact with this kid. I worry for his future employers, his co-workers, his roommates, his partners. I didn't know where to add this in my script where it would make sense, so I'll just put this here. Just 2 weeks before Catherine died, she posted this slideshow on social media of her sons, and her dead ex-husband Charles. She's referencing the Colleen Hoover book, now turned movie, It Ends With Us, which is about domestic violence, and the caption reads very hauntingly, considering this is just 2 weeks before she died. I hated the books. I couldn't watch the movie, but I keep hearing Taylor Swift's lyrics. I didn't have it in myself to go with grace, and so the battleships will sink beneath the waves. You had to kill me, but it killed you just the same. I'm not dead, and neither are my boys. We broke the cycle. I only wish I would have broken the cycle earlier, left earlier. It ends with us. I really do need to hear all of your opinions and thoughts on this case. Do you think it's possible that Collin had 2 unstable, violent parents and everything he has said is the truth? Do you think it's possible that one of his parents' deaths was in self-defense and maybe the other one wasn't? Or do you think that Collin Griffith is a monster, a cold-blooded killer who will take out whoever gets in his way? Do you believe that Collin Griffith is going to kill again? Leave me all your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're there, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow the show wherever you're listening. But that's all I have for this week's investigation, and I will see you guys all next week when we are hot on the case once again.